Hello everyone, welcome to the coding tuition. In the previous video we have seen a basic introduction to Numpy. In this video we will see different methods which are used to create arrays in Numpy package. Okay, so I have mentioned over here 6 different methods through which we can create arrays. We will see examples of each of the method and understand how it actually works and give us an array. Okay, so the first we have to import the Numpy package. So we will import the Numpy package by writing from numpy import star. Here star means we want to include everything inside the Numpy package. So let's run this. It's time to create array using Numpy package, right? Here we have imported. Now the first method over here to create a array using Numpy is using the array function. If you have seen my video of array using array module, there we used to create array using the array class inside the module. Okay, similarly here in Numpy there is an array function which is used to create an array, right? In the array module inside the array class there used to be two parameters of creating the array. One was the type code and second was the elements of the array. Similarly over here in Numpy inside the array function, to create an array there are two different parameters which we have to give to the array function. First is the element of the array and second is the data type of the array. Now let's create an array using the array function. So here we will give the name of the array as arr, okay, and then we will call the function array. Inside that we will give our elements of the array 1, 2, 3, 4. After that the second parameter is the data type of the array. Here we will mention int. Okay, in the array module it used to be the type code, but here we have to mention the data type. So now after that let's print the array. Now let's run this. So here as you can see the array has been created, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, and this array is the integer array. Okay, so one more point here is the second parameter is the optional parameter. That is, if we don't mention the data type of the array, then also the Numpy package will identify its data type by its own. So let's run this without the second parameter. So here the array is, let's change some elements, 11, 12. Okay, now let's create the array 11, 12, 3 and 4, and let's print the array. So here again you can see the array has been created and there is no need to mention the data type of the array. Okay, this is the way where you can create array using array function. So here we have created the integer array. Similarly you can create float array or character array as well. Now here let's see one more concept inside the array function. Let's create another array x. Okay, let's call the function array. Inside it we will give the parameters of the array. Let's give 2, 4, 6, 8.5. So here the first three numbers of the array are integers and the last number is the float number. So here what the Numpy package will do is it will convert all the numbers into float and it will make the array as a float array. Okay, now let's print the array. So here as you can see first three numbers was an integer number, but after printing the array, after execution, all the numbers are float. Why? Because one of the element of the array is float. So because of that Numpy converts every other element as float. Now let's see another function which is the Linespace function of creating the array. Okay, Linespace function is used to create an array which returns evenly spaced numbers over a specified interval. What does this mean? So let's understand this with an example. Let's create another array a using the Linespace function. Here we will not use the array function, here we will use the Linespace. So Linespace, here as in the array function there was two parameters. One was the element and the second was the data type, and the data type was optional, right? In Linespace function there are three parameters. One is the start number and the second parameter is the end number and the third parameter is the number of elements we want to have in our array. Let's start our array with 0 and then end our array at 10, and we want 5 numbers in our array. So what the Linespace function will do is it will create an array which have 5 elements, and all the elements will be in the range from 0 to 10. The first element will be 0 and the last element will be 10, and all the other element will be evenly spaced. What evenly spaced means, when we find difference between any of the two adjacent pair of elements, the difference will be constant. Basically all the elements of the array using Linespace function will be in arithmetic progression. Now let's print this array once. So here as you can see, we got 5 elements, as the third parameter was 5. Here the 5 elements are 0, 2.5, 5, 7.5 and 10. Okay, and the start number is 0 and the end number is 10, right? And all the elements are evenly spaced, means if we consider any two adjacent elements, so let's suppose consider 0 and 2.5, the difference here is 2.5. Similarly between 5 and 2.5, the difference here is again 2.5. so basically the difference is constant. Numbers are evenly spaced between each other. Okay, I hope Linespace function is clear. And another point here is, if we ignore the third parameter, that is if we don't mention the third parameter. Now let's see what happens. If we ignore the third parameter, we will get an array of size 50, that is it will create 50 elements in the range from 0 to 10 which are evenly spaced. So by default the third parameter is 50 if we do not mention anything. If we mention over here 4, then again the number will change. Okay, I hope you have understood the Linespace function. Now let's move forward to the Logspace function. Similar to the Linespace function, Logspace function also returns evenly spaced numbers between specified interval, but in a logarithmic scale. Now let us understand what does a logarithmic scale means. So if you are aware of logarithm, the one of the important part of the logarithm is base. So here in Logspace function, by default the base is 10. You can also change the base by giving the base as a parameter, but here we will not consider that. We will consider the base as 10. So here in the Linespace function, what the range was 0 to 10, right? And this range was in a linear scale. But in logarithmic scale, the actual range start from base to the power of start and ends at base to the power of this end number. So here let's understand this with an example. Here we will create an array B using Logspace function, right? And here also we will give 3 parameters, which is the start number. So let's give over here is 1, and the end parameter, that is 4, and let's give the number of elements we require in an array. Let's again give 5. So here what will happen is, the actual range, that is the logarithmic range, start from 10 to the power of 1, that is base to the power of the start number, and ends at 10 to the power of 4, that is base to the power of the end number which we have provided as the second parameter. Here base is 10 in the Logspace function. You can change that. Okay, now let's print this array. So here as you can see, we have got 5 elements in our array. The range will start from 10 to the power 1, because 10 is the base and 1 is the start number. So 10 to the power 1 is 10 and ends at 10 to the power of 4, which is 10,000, and all the other numbers are also evenly spaced between each other in the logarithmic scale. Okay, I hope you have understood this Logspace function also. Now let's move forward to the arange function. Now let's see how arange function works. If you already know a little bit about Python, you may have worked using range function. Arange function is similar to the range function. It basically takes 3 parameters: the start number, the end number, and the step size. Step size is basically how many numbers it will skip to get the next element of the array, right? I will make you understand this with an example. So let's create an array C using arange function. Let's give three parameters: the start number, the end number, and the step size. Okay, now let's see what's the result. Here the start number is 1 and the end number is 10 and the step size is 2. So the array will start from 1, which is the start number, and as the step size is 2, now to get the second element, what is the procedure is, we will add 2 to the first element, that is 1 plus 2, we will get the second element, that is 3. Similarly, to get the third element, we will add 2 to the second element, that is 3 plus 2, which is 5. Okay, now if you note over here is the end number is 10, but in our array 10 is not mentioned. So here only the start number is inclusive and the end number is not inclusive. But this was not the case in Logspace and Linespace. Here both the numbers were inclusive in the range. Please make a note of that, right? Here the end number is not included in the range. Okay, now let's see another example of arange function with a negative index, right? Let's create an array D using arange. Let's start with 10 and end at 1, and our step size is -1. Now let's see what is the result by printing the array. So here what happened is the start number is 10, so the first element is 10. Now to get the second element, what we will do, we will add -1 to the first element, that is 10. When we add 10 and -1, we will get 9. Similarly, when we add 9 and -1, we will get 8. Similarly, at the end we will stop at 2 because the end number, which is 1, is not inclusive in the range. Okay, I hope you have understood the arange function as well. Now let's see about zeros function and ones function. So what a zeros function is? If there comes a case that we need an array with all the elements as zeros, there is a special function in Numpy which is a zeros function, which will help you to create an array with all elements as 0. Okay, now let's see an example. So let's create an array Z using zeros. Here zeros function also takes two parameters, right? One is the number of elements you want in the array, and the second is the data type. So let's suppose we want 5 elements of the array and all the elements are zeros, and let's keep the data type as int, right? Now let's print the array. So here we have received an array of 5 elements and all the 5 elements are 0. Now let's see what happens when we exclude the second parameter, which is the data type. So here, as you can see, we received a 5 element array, but all the numbers are float number. So what we can conclude here is, if we do not mention a data type in zeros function, it by default the data type will be float. But if we want an integer array of zeros, we have to mention as int. Okay, similar to zeros function, there is ones function which is used to create an array with all the element as ones. Okay, let's make create an array O equal to ones. Let's take 7 element and int. Now let's print the array. So here we have got 7 elements and all the elements are 1. Similarly, if we exclude this, we will get all the elements as float elements. Okay guys, so this was regarding creation of array using different function. I hope you have understood all the methods. If you have any doubt, then please comment down below, and if you found this video helpful, then do like this video and subscribe to my channel for further notifications of the video. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, follow the coding tuition on Instagram as well. Thank you for giving your time. We'll meet in the next video. The next video is regarding mathematical operations on the array using Numpy.